To add to what is essentially a series of videos on this channel now, I've thought long and hard about what the next SpongeBob Top 5 list was going to be, and I've landed on episodes I want to like. Basically what it means is that I'm ranking episodes I really hoped would be good, but had too many problems for me to overlook. Maybe they had great atmosphere or jokes or dialogue or even visuals, but the problems with the episode mounted to where I couldn't like the episode. And starting off the list is an episode with a very mixed reception to begin with. Patrick Man was really the first step, I think, in consciously trying to change the reception of this character. After terrible episode after terrible episode with this character over the years, I do think they tried to redeem Patrick and make his stupidity actually funny again in Season 9. Pet Sitter Pat was the breaking point for a lot of people, while others had seen enough in You Don't Know Sponge, and still others were over this character by the time the card aired. And for what it's worth, there are decent moments in Patrick Man. Mrs. Puff getting arrested is pretty nice, and most of the first few minutes of the episode are pretty good, with Patrick overlooking actual career ads on TV, only to be inspired by seeing Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, which is probably the least serious one. Which, by the way, this is their last voiced appearance in the show. Patrick actually feeling like the failure he is a nice angle they don't use very often, and it could be the basis for a lot of really good jokes. While there were some of them just flat out didn't land for me. Like Patrick standing in the middle of two fish high-fiving. I didn't really like that one. And for a lot of the episode, it's just Patrick bothering people going about their day, and then they try to have this switch to this grand ending with the dirty bubble, and so I'm left wondering what the story was even supposed to be. At first, it seems like it's supposed to be a vignette of Patrick going around and quote-unquote improving people's lives, but then we have this climax with the dirty bubble that we're supposed to care about, I guess? I'm not really sure. It's very clear this episode had potential, but I was left a bit disappointed after watching this one. On some level though, I do appreciate that this episode was a stepping stone in making Patrick a more enjoyable character to watch and a more likable character, with episodes like What's Eating Patrick, The Whole Tooth, and Patrick's Coupon going a long way in showing how Patrick-focused episodes can be really good. Yep, I'm putting an episode from the first 3 seasons on here, and I have no qualms about it. Usually when people don't like an episode from the first 3 seasons, it's because the episode actually screwed up in some way, like having a poorly written story. But even in the quote-unquote bad episodes from this era, you hardly ever hear someone complain that an episode is boring. Even in the worst episodes from classic SpongeBob, it still has the charm of the classic seasons, and so you can find things in the episode that you actually like about it, even if it's just a moment or two. For me, the patchy segments are the only kind of good thing about this episode, which isn't a good sign. The SpongeBob, or I guess SpongeGar portions of the episode, are boring. There's barely a story, and what little jokes there are not that funny. And this episode lacks the inherent advantage present in a lot of classic episodes, because it doesn't actually have the same atmosphere as most of those other episodes. Season 3 took more risks than 1 and 2, but this is one that did not pay off. It's boring, it's too stylistically different, and so it feels like a skit from Mad more than an actual SpongeBob episode. You know what'll get more backlash than criticizing an episode from the first 3 seasons? Criticizing one of the stop-motion episodes, of course. And I understand why. When this episode was announced, I was hyped that they were doing another stop-motion one. It's a SpongeBob Christmas is no joke, a top 5 or top 10 animated Christmas special for me, and does seriously hold up as one of the best SpongeBob episodes. Despite this, when they did this again for Legend of Bikini Bottom Halloween special, I found it bland and uninteresting, which was incredibly disappointing. The story is very bare bones. Like, after watching the episode, I can't even confidently say what the conflict even was. There wasn't a lot of laughs in the episode, and while the visuals were certainly great, you unfortunately can't make an episode with just that. This is one of the best looking episodes of the entire show, but everything else about this one was just disappointing. As a Halloween special, Scaredy Pants or even Don't Look Now is better. There was once a time when this show pretended the first 3 seasons and the movie didn't exist. In Season 7, the example people point to most is Summer Job, where Krabs and Mrs. Puff's dynamic pretends Krusty Love never happened, but also tries to pretend like it did. They were clearly indecisive with that, and other things like the portrayal of Old Man Jenkins in the main drain. And it made people realize that, hey, we're in Season 7. If the show is going to be terrible, at least pretend to be the same show as Seasons 1 through 3. While I understand that argument, given what we have now, I'm not so sure that was a good trade-off. I think if the show stopped constantly trying to use nostalgia to get people reeled in, it would be better because of it. Season 8 was certainly them trying to test the waters with continuity and bringing back old things. They brought back the Finland gag, they gave us a sequel to a Season 2 episode, and they brought back Bubble Bass for the first time since the first season. But this led to them constantly trying to shoehorn in nostalgia to desperately win back old fans, not realizing that just making better episodes will do that anyway. We now have episodes like Squidiot Box, clearly misunderstanding what worked before, but trying to use it anyway as a cheap way to create new content. I bring all of this up because their first real misstep with this was Lost and Found in Season 10. Without the references to old episodes on the shelves, this episode has absolutely nothing going for it. For one, they create this fantastic new setting and do almost nothing with it. There are endless possibilities, and yet all SpongeBob's exploration of this space amounts to is a few visual gags that weren't very funny. There's almost no story, and the episode can't really decide what it wants the main conflict to be. And those elderly people that got lost as kids are such a weak plot point to add to the episode. If this episode didn't have those references to old episodes in the background, it would likely be one of the most forgettable of the entire series. And that sucks because otherwise, I'd like to see this show's universe feel more lively and like things aren't thrown away when an episode ends. And when I first watched this episode, I really liked it. But I think it's telling that I like it less and less every time I watch it again, because after you've noticed all the Easter eggs, you realize this episode basically has no rewatch value except to see if you notice any new ones you didn't catch last time. If you ask me which season of SpongeBob has the best stories, you might be surprised that I think the answer is Season 4. Between Enemy in Law, Have You Seen This Snail, and Selling Out, that might just be the list of the 3 best stories in all of SpongeBob right there. And there's an episode that would be up there with those, but it pisses it all away with the ending. New Leaf is that episode. Not many besides Friend or Foe explore the dynamic between Krabs and Plankton better than this one. But then they decide to destroy that with the way this episode ends. What was a heartfelt moment, among others in the episode, turned into just an insulting ending to what was otherwise a good story. We all know Plankton isn't going to stay a knick-knack salesman after the episode, but that's not the point. You should still make it interesting to get to that point and not hit us with a jarring moment that feels like a slap in the face. No matter what your expectation is going into the episode, when a character completely switches up right after a very emotional moment, it's going to feel insulting. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and a subscription. It helps out the channel. And have a good one.